if you have a theatrical distribution, generally the distributor will be in charge of compiling the trailers, but it's a nominal cost.
Yeah, they typically farm it out to companies that do just nothing but that.
So it seems like, you know, there's a whole business side. Most of us are filmmakers, technical side. And when you get to the business side, you have to deal with securities laws, you need a team of attorneys, accountants, business managers, all of this. And when you're putting together, I mean, I've raised investment money before, I've put together a business plan before. But even if I go get somebody to help me, you know, they've worked in other types of businesses and they're good with money. But when it comes to film, how do you find out? How do you do the carve-out? How do you do your profit distributions? What is typical and standard so that you don't offend investors when you go? I mean, where do you get these samples? I mean, there are samples out there somewhere you can go and find and look at this stuff?
It will be offensive. And the typical indie model is the producer's cut, the producer's unit is half of the back end, and the money gets the other half the back end.
Okay, so it's 50-50.
Yeah, but if you're in any other industry, that is maybe criminal. Yeah. I mean, you literally taking half of their profit, but that's what's standard here. And but the producer doesn't get the all of it. He has to cut in all of the, because you're getting the talent to come in on the front end at a lower than their quote. They're cutting into the producer's unit. Right. So that's the standard indie model.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess if I was looking to put together a plan and put together a deal and offer to investors, I guess maybe I'd go to an attorney who's done it before and get some samples from them. I mean, is that what you would recommend? Is that a good way to find out how to best carve it out? I mean, assuming that I do all the budgeting and all of that, is the attorney a good source?
You will need to have an attorney.
Yeah, sure.
And someone who's an entertainment attorney or an attorney who has securities and business background.
Basically somebody who's sitting in this panel. So I come in afterwards, seriously, because I've done a number of them where I actually, you know, you want to know what a budget would look like for a specific project. I've done enough of them so that's why you pay us the big dollars, because in a shorter period of time you'll be able to get the information.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Jim. My apologies if you covered this already. This is a follow-up here. At that 50% of the back end return, you're going through a distribution company, you sell to a distribution company. Is the back end, you still control the back end? Is this still legitimate? No. Or is it the old, well, there's no real back end?
There is.
There is.
It's an adjusted gross.
Adjusted gross.
It's not a net profits back. I mean, we're getting extremely technical. If you're dealing with a studio, it's going to be a net profits back end, which means it's after all of their overhead, and you'll never see it.
It's chunk. If you're a producer, you'll never see it.
But on the independent model, it's on an adjusted gross, which means after the financier gets his capital back plus his return of capital. And in our model, we get,
and that's on the sale to the studio.
No.
That's on every
the primary exploitation.
On the primary exploitation.
No, the full exploitation, not just the primary. You get the library too. It's on the full exploitation of the film.
Does everybody understand what the full exploitation means and what that engenders for the distribution platform?
Thanks for walking through it.
Obviously, the first one, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the first one is obviously theatrical release. You can get that
in the U.S.
In the U.S. anywhere, really. I mean, foreign is different, but let's talk about domestic version. There's the theatrical release, then there's the DVD or home video, whatever you want to call it now. Then there's pay-per-view or VOD, we're calling it now, video on demand. Then there's the cable movie. It used to be the major networks, but that's all done now because cable's here.
It's pay TV.
It's pay TV, HBO, Stars. Then regular like TV, cable, like for instance, TNT, Spike, whatever. And then you move in the next level. Then is the oil rigs,
we call those ancillaries.
Ancillaries.
Because they're really small.
They're really small. Airplane and oil rigs, military bases. But now the elephant in the room, although nobody's figured out really how to monetize it properly yet and get the money back from it, is the internet distribution and mobile, because that's coming, and devices. That's all in contracts now, but nobody knows how to. I haven't talked to anybody about that.
But you have a copyright that covers the initial 8-year period. Each copyright covers 8 years. And then at the end of the 8 years, you get to relicense it. And you get another, cash flow back in. And so the financier is going to get half of, first of all, he's going to get all his money back, plus his return of capital back. And then he's going to get half of all of the profit, all the money thereafter. And the producers / actors / all the creative folks will get the other half. However, that's distributed money.
All my money plus return of capital. What did that mean? That confused me.
What that means is if I put into let's just make it easy, a $1 million budget. If I put $2.5 million in, I sold off $2.5 million to foreign, and I got the rest of it in tax incentives and loans.
Okay.
Okay? Are you with me?
Kind of.
Okay. We pay back everything we have to pay back. I get my money back.
As the investor.
As an investor. I'm going to get back another 1.5 or another 750,000, 0.3 times. It's kind of between 0.25 and 0.3 times is kind of a standard of my money back before anyone gets any money.
Right.
Then you get half and I get half. But out of your half, you have to bear all the actors, any other producer that's in it, anybody else that gets any back-end carry.
Any other deferred salaries, deferred payments.
These deferments, yeah, comes out of your piece.
So that 2.25 is a guaranteed return? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not guaranteed. It's just the first.
Okay. Yeah.
And
The
this
next
is-
part comes,
this
if you look at a
includes all my
waterfall.
SAG royalties and everything else for everywhere I...
No, SAG comes off the top. I mean, if you're a SAG movie, if you do off the tops, if you're a SAG movie, if you're over whatever, which all of ours tend to be, that comes out first. Then it's
Penalties, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But-
So once it goes to... So performance rights don't work the same way as like in the same residual way.
The residuals, when you're speaking residuals specifically, that's if it is a...
Is that my responsibility as a producer to make sure that all gets paid through SAG and all my people?
Yes, actually it's the distributor's role.
Okay.
But if the distributor's not doing it, you got to do it because you're on the hook. And if it's an equity movie, you just got to know if it's equity or not. If it's not equity, you don't got to worry about it because you don't have off the top. If it's equity, you got to start worrying.
And this goes on ad infinitum. Because, the most valuable thing MGM owns is their film library because it keeps paying for generations, no matter what the technology is. That's why, and talking about distributors, some distributors and some investors want to buy out. Sometimes they want an exit strategy.
Yeah, we're just getting a little short on time. I got one more question. Did you have a question? And then okay, no more questions.
I can ask something.
No.
I do want to ask something.
Okay, go ahead. And I have one more question.
Okay.